girls were running around crying hysterically, and the main thing you heard were people screaming, "Why?"
Hello everybody, it's Mr. Robbie here. This is going to be a longer than usual video, and I hope you'll stay with me because it is an important video. You may have seen recently headlines just like this one. National Guard faces off with protesters hours after arriving in Los Angeles on Trump's orders. Now, if that gave you a chill, you're not alone. This isn't another partisan news story. This isn't a political theater. What happened in Los Angeles may be illegal, unconstitutional, and if history is any guide, potentially deadly. So let's break this down. Under U.S. law, the National Guard typically answers to state governors. That is how our federal system is designed, state control of state forces. The president can only federalize the Guard under very specific conditions: invasion, rebellion, or if civilian authorities are genuinely unable to enforce federal law. None of those conditions were met in Los Angeles. And yet, Trump invoked the Title 10, Section 12406, pulling California's National Guard out from under Governor Newsom, who objected and called the move unlawful. But Trump sent them anyway. Troops hit the streets within hours. Riot shields, tear gas, tactical gear, you've seen the videos. Positioned not to help evacuate during a national disaster, not to guard federal buildings, but to face off against protesters. This is not just alarming. This could be a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act, which bars the use of federal military forces in domestic law enforcement, unless the Insurrection Act is formally invoked. And so let's be clear, Trump has not invoked the Insurrection Act.
President Trump is suggesting he is not prepared to invoke the Insurrection Act, but he strongly is supporting law and order.
Are you prepared to invoke the Insurrection Act?
Depends on whether or not there's an insurrection. No, but you have violent people, and we're not going to let them get away with it.
That breaking news is in Los Angeles, where people continue to protest for a third straight day. This is in response to a series of ICE raids in the city, and now also in opposition to the National Guard being called up to stop the protests. This video shows agents firing pellets at a crowd trying to push them back. The protests have been peaceful so far, but now, as you can see, protesters are being met with the National Guard as well as local law enforcement.
The Trump regime wanted to provoke something that they could essentially claim was an insurrection so that they could federalize the National Guard, which they ended up doing last night, and send the troops against the people of California.
So what exactly are federalized troops doing controlling crowds in Los Angeles? And if you think this is just a theoretical debate about legal codes and constitutional clauses, let me take you back. 1970, May 4th, 1970, Kent State University, Ohio. The Ohio National Guard was sent to suppress anti-war protests. Tensions were high, tempers were frayed, and then gunfire. In just 13 seconds, 67 shots were fired. 4 students were killed. At least 9 more were wounded. Some weren't even protesting. They were walking to class. The photos from Kent State are seared into American memory, students screaming over the bodies of their friends, chaos, smoke, blood, uniformed troops with rifles, all in an American college town on an American college campus. And the message is clear. When you send armed soldiers into civilian protests, history doesn't always end in restraint. That is what is so dangerous about what's happening in Los Angeles.
There were National Guardsmen around there, and they're all in full gear, basically, and heard the bullets coming, and then I heard rounds hitting the ground around me, and then I got hit, and it felt like a bee sting. And then after getting over my initial shock, I'm saying, oh my God, there's still bullets hitting the ground. I mean, you could hear them going into the ground right beside me. And then I started praying that I wouldn't get hit again. And thankfully, the shooting stopped shortly after that. And I knew immediately that I had a spinal cord injury. I went there to lend my voice to oppose what Richard Nixon had said on April the 30th, Thursday night. And remembering the fact that in 1968 he said he had a secret plan to end the war. This didn't look like a secret plan to end the war. This looked like a secret plan to expand the war. That really upset me. So I went to the rally that day to express my opinion on it and to do something constructive if I could to get the government's attention that what they were doing was wrong. I question whether college administrators and trustees of colleges have learned any lessons from the 70s.
Here's a short clip from a National Guardsman who was at Kent State on that day. His name is Private Raymond Sylvie. He later applied for a conscientious objector discharge. And in this clip, he was interviewed at Ohio Northern University on February 5th, 2020 as part of the Kent State Guardsman Oral History Project.
So, what do you remember from May 4th?
What I remember, see, I wasn't on the commons. All right, I was in the gym. I was outside the gym. So there's a little rise right there. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of Kent State, but there's a little rise, and then there's a gym. Right. There's a memorial building there now or something, but that wasn't there then, I don't think. But we were just standing around outside, and this is maybe the second or third day that we were there. I can't even remember that. Well, I just remember the shots. We heard it. We knew what that was. And then the students coming back, crying and yelling and stuff, walking past the gym. And I remember from some deep, deep place inside of me, this voice saying, this is wrong. This shouldn't happen. And I knew with a certainty I'd never known in my life before that all the things that my parents had taught me, all the things my government was saying, all the things my religion was saying, all the things that I had been taught so far, they were wrong. I mean, for this to happen, people did not know what they were doing. I mean, this is a fundamental thing. This was not an intellectual thing. This was from deep inside of me. And I mean, I was profoundly affected. And I basically threw down my rifle and refused to serve again.
We've now crossed a line. Our governor's authority has been overridden. Federal troops have been deployed without legal justification. Civilian protesters are being confronted by armed forces. And remember, the First Amendment guarantees the right to free speech, to assemble, to protest the government peacefully. But now people are exercising those rights, are being met with military force.
As the Trump regime quite literally declared war on its own citizens. The Trump regime invoked 10 U.S.C. section 12406, which is entirely inapplicable to what's taking place, and it's invalid the way Trump invoked it because it requires a governor's consent, which did not take place here. But the Trump regime issued a memo federalizing the National Guard in California to go against the people of California based on a manufactured situation that the Trump regime provoked by sending ICE to attack communities and to provoke and cause chaos in communities in Los Angeles and in the adjacent areas to Los Angeles.
Today, Democratic Congresswoman Maxine Waters tried to visit a prisoner at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles, but she was turned away. She was trying to see the president of the Service Employees International Union, David Huerta. Federal agents arrested him after he allegedly tried to interfere with their access to a work site. After Congresswoman Waters was denied access to him, she criticized the presence of the National Guard troops at these demonstrations. She says the protesters are peaceful, and she expressed concern that the Guard's presence could escalate the situation and result in violence.
I'm afraid that the guns will end up being used. I don't know why we have guns. What are those guns for? Are they to shoot protesters? I mean, there's no reason to be here with the National Guard. The President of the United States is cruel.
Congresswoman Waters says she has congressional authority to enter that Los Angeles federal building and that it was against the law for her to be denied entry.
That's not democracy. That is a threat to democracy. Now, you may support the National Guard. You may even support the president. That's not the point. The point is this. What happens when federal troops are used to silence protest? What happens when political power overrides legal limits? What happens when the next soldier panics? Do we get another Kent State? Are we willing to risk another dead student, another grieving family, another scar on our history books just to flex presidential muscle? This moment in Los Angeles is about more than public order. It's about whether we believe in the boundaries that protect our rights, our states, our people. And if we normalize this, if we let it slide without question, we're opening the door to something far more dangerous than protest. We're opening the door to history repeating itself. And next time, we might not get a warning shot. Yesterday, I was talking to a friend in Germany on WhatsApp, and I'll tell you, if anybody knows about this type of thing, it's the Germans. My friend wrote to me. He says, Turd Head, good name for him. I call him the Orange Turd, but Turd Head has sent the National Guard to Los Angeles. This will just make everything worse. I replied, yeah, this is fucked up. Even the Supreme Court can't stop this because the Supreme Court is finished for the year and they won't be back for a few more months. They want to send in the armed forces now against civilians. This is going to turn into another Kent State massacre. That's what I said. He says to me, this is worse than the first months of the Nazis in Germany back in 1933. Now, I know there may be a lot of younger people maybe watching this whole thing, unfold on television, on TikTok, or wherever, the millennials and the Gen Zs are watching. You have to know history. After the Second World War, we knew, when I say we, I wasn't alive, but the country knew we could never let anything like this happen ever again. And it's happening now. It's happening now in the United States of America. Please, younger generation, educate yourselves. Find out how all of that started in 1933. There are plenty of videos and the History Channel and Discovery Channel, all of that on TikTok and YouTube and everywhere else. You definitely can find out. You have to know that this is how it begins. This is how authoritarianism begins. This is how the Nazi regime began, and this is the Trump regime. Now, I mentioned earlier the Posse Comitatus Act, and that is something that a lot of people may not be familiar with, and I'll just tell you again what it is. It is a law that bars the use of federal military forces in domestic law enforcement unless the Insurrection Act is formally invoked, and Trump has not invoked the Insurrection Act. I bring this up again, the Posse Comitatus Act, because this is something, and I talked about Alex Jones in a previous video, and whatever you may think of him, and whatever I may think of him, he's a bit of a crackpot. But years ago, Alex Jones talked about this very scenario, and he talked about the Posse Comitatus Act and federalizing the National Guard, militarizing the police to quash protests. And this was in the late 90s and early 2000s that he talked about this in videos.
In the next 2 hours, you will see hardcore documentation, evidence that is irrefutable that America is turning into a nightmarish police state. Cameras on the street corners, mass checkpoints on our major interstate highways, warrantless searches. But worst of all, you'll see America's military being perverted, being turned into an instrument of control, not an instrument of defense. Again, this isn't some foreign country. This is America. Psychological warfare against the population.
That's one thing I think, no matter what you think about him, all the other crackpot crap that he has talked about in the past 20 years, I think now we see that he was right about this type of situation. Maybe back then we didn't think, we thought, well, it couldn't happen. It just couldn't happen in America. That type of thing, we're better than that. But I think he was right.
The enemy is not our police, and it's not our military. It is those that would pervert and twist the sacred oath that our peace officers and military folks have sworn to uphold. That is to defend our country from enemies foreign and domestic. It's up to you. This whole criminal system, this whole undertaking that we see unfolding before our eyes is done through ignorance. It's up to you to educate the cop that lives next door to you, or to talk to your friend who's a captain or a colonel or a general or a private in the United States military. It's up to you to educate them about what's happening and refresh their memory about history. We are repeating what happened in 1933 Germany.
Now I want to show you one final clip. It's not very long, but if you've stayed this long, thank you so much. As I said, I know it's a longer than usual video, but I think it's very important that these things are discussed and known and fought against. This last clip I want to show you is from a decorated Gulf and Iraq war veteran, and he has something actually important to say. Please watch and listen. And after the clip, I'll come back with my final word.
Oh, I'm coming in hot on this fucking one. 20 years and 28 motherfucking days I gave to this fucking country that I don't even fucking recognize anymore. Raising my right hand to take an oath to the Constitution to defend this country against enemies, foreign and fucking domestic. And we got this fucking Trump, this fucking hump, and his fucking monkeys destroying his fucking country. But you fucking maggot motherfuckers are okay with this shit. And you motherfucking veterans that support him, your service doesn't mean fucking shit. You all fucking disgust me. And you motherfuckers that think you're patriots behind him, a treasonous traitor, you're motherfucking hatreds. And you fake fucking Christians, fuck you. May you all rot in fucking hell, because we all have a fucking judgment day. That I do believe. And yours ain't gonna go so fucking good. And you keep fucking attacking Joe Biden? He got more fucking sense in his fucking pinky no matter what his cognitive fucking ability is today or it was yesterday. You fucking bloated fuck, and all your fucking monkeys and every one of you rotten bitches from Nome to Headslip to fucking Little Marco to all of them today. Raspberry fucking Dumper Robert Kennedy. All of you motherfuckers, you're the fucking bottom-feeding motherfuckers. The worst this country has ever had in a fucking administration. I served under Reagan and fucking Papa Bush and Clinton and fucking Junior Bush. And no matter how much you may hate them motherfuckers or love them, they never were like this. This is fucking insanity. I don't recognize this fucking country anymore with the fucking misogyny on fleek and the fucking racism. Deporting people that are trying to get citizenship, who are paying taxes and mortgages and car notes and are productive members of society. People dying in ICE detention. But you motherfuckers don't care. But I blame you motherfuckers that voted them in. Fuck you, Trump, your whole rotten fucking administration, and your fucking willingness to fucking sell out this country to fucking evil motherfuckers that I fucking defended against. Fuck you and every fucking person named fucking Trump.
Well, there you have it, folks. This is the state of America right now. If anything that you have seen or heard or read about in the past few days, anything in my video alarms you, and it should, please don't stay silent. Speak out. Share the facts. Share this video. Contact your representatives. Demand accountability. Demand that the rule of law, not brute force, govern our streets. Post, write, protest peacefully while you still can. Vote while you still can. Because this isn't just about Los Angeles. It's about whether we still believe in a government of laws, or whether we're willing to surrender that to fear. The next Kent state doesn't have to happen, but only if we refuse to let it. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please share it. Please like and subscribe. Do your duty to get the facts out. Thank you so much again. You'll see me later.